The 2024 presidential election is shaping up to be a battle of political heavyweights, with former President Donald Trump ramping up his campaign efforts in key battleground states, while Vice President Kamala Harris enjoys a significant post-DNC boost in polling. As the race heads into the final stretch, it's clear that both candidates are pulling out all the stops to secure votes in the swing states that will determine the outcome. Let's dive into the action, explore the latest polling data, and see how this race is shaping up. The showdown of 2024, a contest of contrasts. Welcome to this year, folks. It's a year where political fireworks are lighting up the skies, and the Trump-Harris contest is a nail-biter. Trump, the twice-impeached former president, is out on the campaign trail like a rock star on a reunion tour, hitting up his beloved battleground states with the same bravado that defined his previous campaigns. His rallies are a spectacle, drawing thousands of die-hard supporters who remain fiercely loyal despite the political turbulence of recent years. Meanwhile, Harris, fresh from a high-energy DNC boost, is flexing her political muscles and showing that she's a force to be reckoned with. The contrast between Trump's unapologetic bombast and Harris's poised, policy-driven approach sets the stage for an election that promises to be one for the history books. Kamala Harris, the Democratic National Convention darling. The Democratic National Convention in August 2024 provided Harris with a platform to shine. After months of uncertainty, President Biden's decision to step aside had thrust Harris into the spotlight, and she didn't miss a beat. Her acceptance speech was filled with passion and optimism, rallying the Democratic base and attracting record-breaking donations. Her performance was electrifying, and it translated into a polling bump that gave her the momentum she desperately needed. Polls from late August showed Harris leading Trump by narrow margins in crucial swing states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, signaling that her message resonated across key demographics. As the first woman of color to top a major party's presidential ticket, Harris has energized minority voters and young people, making her a formidable candidate. Trump's battleground strategy, a road trip of nostalgia. Trump's strategy is simple. Hit the battleground states like a political rock star on a comeback tour. He's revisiting states he won in both 2016 and 2020, hoping to remind voters why they chose him the first two times. North Carolina has been a particular focus, with Trump making several appearances there, despite the race being tighter than anticipated. His message to supporters remains clear. He's the champion of the forgotten voter, promising to return America to its glory days. But this time, his campaign is facing new challenges, as Harris's presence on the ticket has energized voters who may have been lukewarm about Biden. Trump's rallies are still packed with fervent supporters, but the margins in battleground states are closer than ever, making every stop critical for his re-election hopes. Polling tightens in swing states. The race in battleground states remains razor-thin. According to the most recent Ipsos survey conducted in early August, Harris leads Trump by a mere 2% in key states like Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada. But don't be fooled. This race is far from over, and the margins are well within the polling error. Trump's team has downplayed Harris's lead, chalking it up to a Democratic National Convention honeymoon that will fade as the election nears. While Harris may have the advantage now, her campaign is fully aware that maintaining this momentum will be a constant battle. Both candidates know that swing voters will likely decide the election, and each side is pulling out all the stops to capture this critical demographic. Inflation and immigration, Trump's trump card. When it comes to issues like inflation and immigration, Trump still has the edge. Voters in battleground states seem to trust him more to handle these concerns, with 45% favoring his approach to immigration, compared to Harris's 31%. Trump's messaging has been relentless, blaming the Biden-Harris administration for rising costs of living and positioning himself as the only candidate who can restore economic stability. His focus on these kitchen table issues resonates particularly well with working-class voters who feel the pinch of inflation in their everyday lives. Meanwhile, Harris has had to defend the administration's handling of these issues, trying to shift the narrative toward the progress made on healthcare and infrastructure. Harris leverages healthcare and democracy. On the other hand, Harris has carved out a lead on healthcare and democracy, With the post-Democratic National Convention momentum, she has positioned herself as the candidate who will fight for reproductive rights, access to affordable health care, and the protection of democracy. These are key issues for women, younger voters, and the growing number of Americans worried about political extremism. Harris's ability to connect with voters on these emotional and deeply personal topics has given her a slight edge in national polls, but it remains to be seen whether this will hold as the election draws nearer. Her campaign is betting that these issues will galvanize key voter groups, particularly in suburban and urban areas where healthcare and civil rights are top concerns. Trump's MAGA base still going strong. Let's not forget Trump's ace in the hole, his devoted MAGA base. Even as the political landscape shifts, Trump's rallies are still drawing huge crowds, with loyal supporters willing to wait hours just for a chance to see him in person. These voters are fiercely loyal, and they are a key reason why Trump remains competitive in states like North Carolina and Georgia. The MAGA movement has proven to be a political force that transcends traditional party lines, with Trump's supporters believing he is the only candidate who truly represents their values. This unwavering loyalty gives Trump a solid foundation in the election, but the challenge will be expanding beyond this base to capture undecided voters who are still on the fence. Kamala's youth appeal, a double-edged sword. Harris's youth, at least compared to her predecessor Joe Biden, is both a strength and a potential weakness. On the one hand, she appeals to younger voters who see her as a symbol of progress. Her status as a barrier-breaking candidate has energized a demographic that often feels ignored by the political establishment. On the other hand, Trump's team has been quick to paint her as inexperienced and out of touch with older voters who might be wary of significant change. The Harris campaign is working to strike a balance, highlighting her experience as vice president while emphasizing the fresh perspective she brings to issues like climate change and social justice. Whether this strategy will be enough to sway skeptical voters remains to be seen, but it's a gamble the Harris team is willing to take. The economy. Harris versus Trump. The economy continues to be a battleground issue, and neither candidate is backing down. Harris is leaning into her record as vice president, touting the Biden administration's efforts to lower unemployment, boost job growth, and expand healthcare access. She has made it clear that her economic policies will build on this foundation, aiming to reduce income inequality and provide support for working families. But Trump has countered with his own vision, arguing that Harris's economic policies will lead to higher taxes and more government interference. His focus on deregulation and tax cuts for businesses appeals to many conservative voters who are concerned about economic freedom. Voters seem torn between these two approaches, and the outcome may depend on which candidate can present a more convincing argument in the final weeks of the campaign. The final stretch. A race to the finish line. As we head into the final weeks of the campaign, one thing is clear. This race is far from over. Both Trump and Harris are in a fierce battle for the soul of the nation, and every vote will count. Trump's team is banking on the MAGA base to turn out in record numbers, while Harris is hoping that her message of unity, healthcare, and progress will resonate with voters in swing states. The campaigns are ramping up their ground games, with volunteers knocking on doors and phone banks buzzing with activity. This election will come down to who can motivate their base while also reaching out to undecided voters. Will Trump's populist message win the day, or will Harris's appeal to democracy and healthcare carry her to victory? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure. This is going to be a campaign season for the history books. Wow, what a race this is shaping up to be. As Trump and Harris battle it out for the White House, one thing is for sure. It's going to be a wild ride to Election Day. Who do you think will come out on top? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the 2024 election, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update.